Hi, and thank you for joining Jane Atkinson and I for H3 TV, where we spread ideas on hope, health, and happiness, personally and professionally, to help you live your extraordinary life. Today, we'll talk about different ways to implement that. We know that that is where a lot of people struggle, is feeling hopeless, unhealthy, or unhappy. And so I decided every Wednesday I would come into your living rooms, into your office, and share tips and ideas with you on how to be hopeful, healthy, and happy, even if we're struggling. It all adds to healing. So please help me welcome Jane to the stage. Hey, Jane, thanks for being here.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here with you, Annie.
Thanks. I have a few questions for you, but before we get started, tell us who you are and what you do, Jane.
My name is Jane Atkinson. I am the founder of the Wealthy Speaker School. I see it's kind of getting cut off in the title there. And where we help professional speakers grow the speaking business of their dreams. The important part of that statement is of their dreams, because I think it's really important that people maintain their life balance as they grow their business and not allow the business to run them. So we're really all about just kind of developing something that is perfect for you. And you are a recipient of that.
I am a recipient of that, and I am living my dreams on the beach, and I love every minute of it.
So and I love watching you do that. Those pictures from your balcony just make me so happy.
Thank you. I am living the dream, and I agree with you. I was talking to a number of people at Influence this week about, yes, you want to get to where you're going, but not at the price of your health or your mindset. So I recommended actually your book, Scaling Your Business, to 4 people who were like, how do I scale and how do I do this? And talk to 2 people about scaling down and many people about scaling up, because you don't want the business to run you, right?
So true. That's for that kind of intermediate person. But for the new speaker, Annie, I haven't even told you this yet. I am in the throes of writing the Wealthy Speaker 3.0, which will be the best book ever, because the things I know now, 15 years later, after writing version number 1, my own who I am has grown, as well as the industry has grown and changed and evolved. And so much has changed post-COVID, et cetera. So I'm really excited to see that coming out this fall. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Well, then I'll have a new book to recommend. And these were people a little bit farther along that were looking to scale. They were getting overwhelmed with being on the road. So
yes.
I always know that when we talk about hope, health, and happiness, it starts with ourselves and then it grows into our business, right? So what I would love, Jane, is if you can share some tips with our listeners, like 3 to 5 things that you do to stay H3, hopeful, healthy, and happy. What do you personally do to get there or stay there?
Okay, well, the first thing that pops to mind is the morning routine. I think that it really literally grounds me. You know, they say when you go and you put your bare feet on the grass, that is like literally grounding to you. And so I try to get outside in the morning, go walk around the river. So talk about living your dreams. You know, when I was single and had no children, I lived in a condo a stone's throw from here, and I would walk around the path by the river, and I'd look up at the houses on the river, and I'd be like, oh, those are amazing. I would love to live. And now I live in one of those houses, and so I'm living my dream as well. But I think that walk just kind of sets the day and kind of grounds me into place. And then it's a series of other things that I kind of go in and out of style on, to be honest with you. And I find when I'm the most untethered, let's say, the most unbalanced is when I don't do anything in the mornings. When I sit and watch the news, for instance, that can completely take me downhill quickly. And so I have the Wealthy Speaker Daily Success Planner and Journal, writing in the journal every morning, which features things like gratitude and things that build my confidence. I'm constantly doing things to try to keep myself feeling 100% confident in what I'm doing. And, you know, that the morning routine is kind of setting the stage. And then sometimes I will build some reading into that. So right now I'm reading a great book called The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan.
Mm.
And it's just a fantastic book. And I have actually created a little study group within the school for it so that we can all kind of read it together and share our aha moments as we're going.
I love that. So walk, movement, but also being grounded. I love that. The sand is a miracle for me. I mean, that's part of why I moved, is for my own mental, emotional health, walking, but also in that grounding. So it's that intention of walking, that you feel the grass, that you feel the ground, that you're aware of your surroundings, that you're present, the journaling, the reading, the quiet. And I agree with you 100%. A morning routine. Some people say I'm not a morning person. I'm like, there's something about setting the stage in the morning, right? For the whole day to be better. All right. So do you think hope and happiness, I'm curious, did that come by chance, by choice, or based on circumstances?
Well, I have a Post-it note that is very recent, and I'm going to share it with you now.
Okay.
And it says, I am responsible for my feelings.
Mm.
And so I can choose to feel disappointed in my circumstances,
Yeah.
or I can choose to feel excited or hopeful or anything. I mean, really, what I have to do is I have to figure out what thought is going to get me to the feeling that I want. And so we could start with the feeling of hopeful and work our way backwards from that. And so let's say we haven't reached our goal yet.
Yep.
And hopeful is the feeling that we would like to have. The thought might be just something simple like, I'll get there. I
Yeah.
always get what I'm, after. I always end up achieving it eventually. It just takes some
Yeah.
time. And I remember Art Berg, who was this amazing motivational speaker, and I really wish you would have gotten to see him this past week, but he unfortunately passed away a few years ago.
Yeah.
He had this saying, while the difficult takes time, the impossible just takes a little longer.
Oh, I love that.
And this is him, it's this poster. Actually, I have it right here, but I won't hold it up for you. But it's him in his wheelchair. So he's a paraplegic or quadriplegic, I think. And he's rolling up these Utah mountains. And it says, while the difficult takes time, the impossible just takes a little longer.
Love that.
Like, talk about a thought that gets you to a place of hope. Like,
Yeah.
I'll get there.
Yeah.
I'll get there. It's just a
That
matter
makes
of
me, so I love that. That makes me really happy today. I was interviewed on a podcast this morning, and these two men who I don't know were like, "You're a hero. And I was like, "Wow, I don't really feel like that." But like, just to slow down and recognize how far you've come. Like Al came, whenever they do those awards, I always like these people's careers. Anyway, I don't know. It's
Well,
fun.
that's actually, what you're talking about is the gap and the gain. The gain is when you look backwards from where you've come
Yeah.
and measure your success that way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, look at what I've done. Look at what you've done. Look at all the things. Look at all the audience you've spoken for. Look at all the books you've written. There's a lot of amazing achievements under your belt, right?
Yeah.
But if you are constantly measuring where you are today to what your financial goal is or your goal, and you're constantly looking at that distance, then you're in the gap.
Okay.
And so we can fall in and out of the gap all day long, every day.
Yeah.
It's just, we have to bring ourselves back and recognize it. But just really reminding ourselves of what we've accomplished is so important.
It is. It's like, oh my gosh. And then when I do sit for a moment and look where I started and where I am and where I still think I'm going and all the cool things that are happening, I'm speaking to my first franchise conference this weekend.
Ooh, that's a really good fit for you industry wise.
It's been 5 years of wanting and wishing. All right. Anyway, I'm distracted today. So what's the difference between being hopeful and optimistic, Jane? What do you, when you're working with people, if somebody's like, I'm hopeful or I'm optimistic, what's the difference, or is there a difference?
I think I was just seeing a news piece on this morning, and some people think that optimism is kind of born, but she talked about it like optimism was like a muscle that you needed to exercise every day. And so it's kind of this gap and gain thing, is like reminding myself, oh, wait, that's gap thinking. I'm falling into the gap trap.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to be there. And so when I'm doing that, I'm exercising my optimistic muscle.
Yeah.
it's kind of words. And I will say this, when you set a big goal for yourself, be aware of what feeling you need in order to get there. Because sometimes, let's say that you have a goal that's like really big financially and it feels like a massive stretch. I don't think hopeful is going to get you there as a thought. I think you need to dig into like the thoughts of determination and grit.
Okay.
Okay. And so just depending, it's nice to be hopeful on a day-to-day basis for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
But if you set something that feels really gargantuan in terms of a goal, I think you're going to want to tap into something that gets your determination factor up.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, then I think that'll allow you to cruise in there a little bit easier. I just think that you really need to muster up
Yeah.
a lot of like that courageous grit that we all have it within us.
We do. So you're kind of saying hopeful is kind of the vision of like, this is what I hope for, whatever, but you got to dig deep beyond the hope into what do I need to do and just stay positive. And I'm reading a book called Switch on Your Brain, and I find it amazing. It's
Cool.
I really am loving it. Another woman recommended it, and she wants to do a book club around it, but it's like, and a lot of it's like, oh, that's what I say, but it's the neuroscience and kind of a faith-based neuroscience of what is actually happening and why it happens and where does it stem from. So
That could be a nice fit. I like that.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. All right. What allows, because you are a positive person, and not only for yourself, but for your clients and the work you do, but what allows doubt or being down to slip into your life? Even though you've been practicing this and you're very disciplined about it, where does doubt or hopelessness slip into your life?
I think when I get out of my morning routine, for sure.
Okay.
When I start to blame my circumstances for my feelings, let me explain.
Okay.
Let's say that I'm feeling annoyed.
Okay.
Because, I don't know, some people in the school need things from me and they shouldn't really be coming to me. They should be going somewhere else. And so I have this feeling of annoyed. And so I'm blaming the circumstance on that thing that happened rather than my thought about it.
Okay.
Okay. Because it's really up to me to how I feel when people present me with problems, right?
Yeah. You can be like, so what? Do it or don't do it or pass it on, but it doesn't have to bother you.
Let me just delegate that.
Yes.
Ooh, there
Yes.
we go. And so sometimes I think, okay, I don't want to look at my email anymore. Let me just pass it. And so that's really, don't blame your feelings on your circumstances. Really identify that your thought is the reason that you're feeling that way, and that's the part that you can control.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I've learned so much in the coaches training that I've gone through, and it's really helped me. And I get coached on this stuff twice a week, Annie. I'm not telling you that I'm there. I'm just kind of repeating things that other people have been saying to me of late. Be aware of when you're blaming the circumstance, because circumstances are kind of neutral. And a great example of that is COVID. You might have thought one way about COVID. I might have thought a different way. And 10 other people would have thought something completely different. Somebody out there might have seen COVID as an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
some did, right?
Yeah.
And if you were able to get there fairly quickly in your mind, then okay, great, here we go. We're off on a new opportunity. I'm going to set up my virtual. I'm going to figure all this out. But for those people who sat and wallowed for 2 years, it's all the same circumstance, but every person had a different thought about it. And that resulted in different actions and different results. And very interesting to see. I talked to people who after 2 years had not done one piece of business. And I'm like, okay, I don't know that needed to happen, but that was your choice based on the thought that you had about COVID. And so the circumstance is always neutral, and it's what we think about it that we need to control that can allow us to move forward in the direction that we want to go.
Yeah, I know as my coach, you have said to me, what is that situation? What are you thinking about that situation? Because you're totally right. Like some people went, oh my gosh, I get to be locked at home and play with my 2-year-old and the world's open to me. I can speak anywhere. And other people went, oh my gosh, the world's shut down. And it is, what are you thinking about that situation?
Yeah.
Because how we think about it, how we respond is how we
Yeah.
ultimately feel and overreact, underreact, whatever it is. So yeah, I love it.
And I didn't get there immediately. I
Yeah.
recognize that I have like a bit of an alarmist kind of default position, and then I have to work my way back to positive. Like
Yeah.
that's why when you say optimism, it's like a muscle that you have to exercise every day, because some of us are not naturally born optimists. We have to work at it all the time. And so COVID took me about a week. My friend Chris West said, hey, Jane, people need us right now. We should do something together. Let's do this brand camp. And so we put together this brand camp, which was so fun. And week one, Jane is not even in brand camp. Like it's Chris and Jane, but Chris is running the show. And I'm just like along for the ride, kind of still dazed and confused over COVID. Week two, though, Jane shows up. Yeah. Week three, I'm strong. Week four, I'm like, I'm back. But it took me a while to get there. And luckily I had good friends to kind of drag me along, because I forgot that people needed me then more than ever. And as soon as I remembered it, it was like a light switch came on and all the business came to me. And I was so grateful for that. I was so grateful that somebody reminded me.
Yeah, it's great to have a friend do that. And like you said, also, when you watch the news, that throws you off. When you get back on track. Yeah, and for me, I tell everybody, don't watch news, because if that's how we start our day in our brain, it's hard to be optimistic, because it is, like you said, you're still coaching on it. It's not like we arrive. It's a work in progress the rest of our life. Like, whoop, I'm getting kind of negative. Whoops, I'm listening to too many negative people or watching things that don't, okay, I need to be around positive people. So yeah, great idea.
So I had to, for the first week, I think all I did was watch the news. Like during COVID, during 9/11, I was absolutely just glued and crying to the TV screen when 9/11 happened. And it wasn't until I went outside and walked around the lake, I was living in Dallas at the time, that I finally went, oh, there's another world going on out here. There's, I don't need to sit in front of the TV and cry all day. And so it's incredible to see how much that can adjust your sense of well-being or not.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Great answer. So on that note, what are you hopeful about? So I'd love for you to answer that question. Kind of tell our listeners that are maybe not feeling hopeful or looking for hope or looking for something. What are you hopeful about personally in your own personal life? And what are you hopeful about your business going forward?
Oh my goodness. Well, if you're watching the news every day, you're going to see things like inflation and interest rates and da 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 da. But what comes with all of those things is opportunity. And what I'm hearing in our industry, the speaking industry, is that people are meeting and getting booked and having events. And, there's just a lot of things that are very hopeful. Now, I want to give you something, Annie, that's like hot off the press, because I only just announced this today.
Okay.
I was going to do a live event in Florida in November.
Yeah.
And my team and I, like 10 o'clock last night, were on Slack having a discussion about this, and we decided not to do it. And what had happened was, I think, is that we just put too much on our plates.
Okay.
And sometimes I find that I do that, and I'm very aware of the pattern of, yeah, let's do that. And then all of a sudden I say, wait a second, I have a book coming out. I need to launch that. Wait a second, I'm still in the throes of really like expanding and growing the school. I really need to focus on that. And so we did a recalibration, and we decided to take the live event, which, by the way, is usually not very profitable anyway.
Just saying. It's a great way to connect, right?
I know, and I miss everybody so much. But the minute I took that off my plate, I just felt this massive weight lifted off of my shoulders, because now every time I see something about COVID or something about travel, that headaches of traveling and getting to places, now I'm not going to worry about it anymore. The anxiety was already starting to build and we were 4 months out. And so I thought, okay, take it and go. Now we're just going to focus. So what I'm really excited about in my business is growing our school. We have 50 or 60 students now. We want to grow that to 150 or 160, and releasing the new book. And I've released probably 3 books that I would say I didn't do my due diligence on and really give them the big splash that they deserved. And this one I'm going to.
Okay.
So I'm super excited about that. And so that's what I'm hopeful about in my business. What I'm hopeful about for everybody else is, hey, where there are challenges in the world, there are opportunities.
Yeah.
Go and see where you might fill a need. And I think you will find that if you can serve more in the times of need, you'll be just fine. You'll do great.
Yeah. I just want to tell you, because I am traveling a lot. Since June was my busiest month since 2019, I have had no problems with there.
Oh, good.
I think people just like to post scary thoughts. People have been nicer than they've ever been. Planes have been delayed, but here, 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there. I had one in Dublin where ended up having to spend the night, but it worked out, and it works out.
You're a hopeful and optimistic person. That is how you're going to frame everything that happens in your world. And I'm Canadian, so we got it locked right in. Air Canada just started canceling flights willy-nilly here. And so there's just a lot going on in the world right now. There's
and what you mean.
Shortage in the airline industry as well. So part of it is legit.
I know.
There are problems, staffing problems. And part of it is just all the backlog from COVID and what have you. So,
and a lot of new speakers that went to influence, I would say without a doubt, need your school. I think it's set up so well. I love how it's laid out. And I think that's what people are looking for, is step by step, how do I, and because you do the foundation rather than just the shiny object, look, you can make a lot of money. No, we got to start here. And even if you've been speaking for a while, go back to the basics and go through the fundamentals. And I think your school really has that to offer to people at any level. So
I have a new analogy about that my coach gave me, actually. She said, if you were going to bake a batch of chocolate chip cookies, would you go out onto the internet and look up 10 different recipes and then take an ingredient from each? No, you'd follow one recipe from beginning to end, right?
Yeah.
And so we provide the recipe. We're actually renaming it Ready, Aim, Launch. Okay. It used to be Ready, Aim, Fire.
Yeah. Okay.
We're like, oh, that's too combative. So we're going to be Ready, Aim,
I agree.
Launch.
I like launch better.
Ready, Aim, Launch.
Yeah.
And so the Ready, Aim, Launch formula allows people to follow one recipe from beginning to end and put on all the blinders of what's going on out there in the industry. I think a lot of people try to piecemeal together a strategy for their business.
Yes.
They'll see a webinar, a YouTube video, listen to a podcast, and okay, I got my strategy, but it's not really following one path. And so that's, I think, our advantage moving forward. And I really love the chocolate chip cookie recipe.
I love it. You guys have a great formula. So I know that, I always think about health. How are we thinking about health? So I want to know first, what is your most important area of health to yourself? And what's your favorite area of health to teach your clients?
Well, I'm going to have to come down to mental health because it's been such top of mind for me. Honestly, that was part of the reason why we shelved the idea of the live event, was for my own mental health.
Okay.
I just said to everybody, look, I can feel the stress and anxiety starting to build already. The physical side of health, I know I need to do better. It's it's constant. And I I would say I do a pretty good job to a degree, but then we go up north to the lake on the weekends and it feels like all bets are off. Right? And I goof off. And there you are living in Florida. Like that's on vacation all the time, baby.
All the
Right?
time.
Beautiful seafood restaurants at every corner. And I'm so jealous of that because I am like when I'm down there, I eat seafood constantly. But yeah, so I need to do better on the health front. In terms of my clients, we really talk a lot about balancing the mental health because without it, I mean, where are you really? Right?
100%. I think one thing you do excellent on health, Jane, to me, when I think of you, even though you have all of that, is you're teaching people financial health. I mean, being a wealthy speaker to me is financial health. And I met a guy who was new and he said, should I quit my job? And I said, absolutely not.
No.
And the reason people go bankrupt is because they get really excited and you're more honest. Like, here's where we start. Here's where we build. Here's what's possible. Here's
Keep
what
your job. Keep
Yeah.
your job. And because we want to not have, so this comes back to that whole how we're approaching our actions with a particular feeling. We never want that feeling to be desperate.
That's right.
I need the money.
Yeah.
That is not the thought we need to come from when we're going out and taking all of our actions. And so we need to come from a place of just like calm confidence and in the knowledge that we're building something really cool. And yes, I could take that engagement, or no, I'm still going to pay my bills.
Yes.
And so when you have a day job to fall back on, that's just a beautiful thing. So that was great advice.
Yeah. And I love that you are the Wealthy Speaker School because to me, having our finances in order affects our mental health, our emotional, our physical health. As a gym owner, I watch people get their finances out of order, get sick, get depressed, beat themselves up. And I'm always like, we don't arrive at healthy. We work on one piece of it every day, whether it's emotional today, financial tomorrow, relational the next day. It doesn't matter. Like for me, it's always like, what's one thing I can do to feel better about myself today? You watch the woman Fabulous 50 on YouTube?
No.
Oh, she's amazing if you want a physical health component. And the reason I love her is Fabulously Fit Over 50, I think. I think she goes by Sherry, but that's not her actual name.
Okay.
She might be from Australia. But she has 3-minute, 5-minute, 7-minute, 10-minute, 20-minute, 30-minute videos. She should be a motivational speaker. She's like, love your body. Thank your body for right now. Don't pressure yourself. She's so positive.
I would love that. I'm going to check that out because that's exactly where I'm at. And, you know, I have to tell you, Annie, the first thing to take me down kind of like all the way around, like physically, health-wise, is financial pressure.
That's right.
I get sick when I feel under financial pressure. And I am just going through every June. I actually think I go through this and I just have to remind myself, wait a second, we've been here before.
Yeah.
It's okay. And I even have like a pretty good, so let me give you a tip on this. If you can build up a comfort fund, and we've probably talked about this before, your comfort fund could be $5,000. That might be the amount that makes you feel better. Or you might need $50,000 in order to make you feel like comfortable, like so that you are in the position to never have to worry about money. Yeah. And so my fund is out there, but my default position is still to worry. And I'm still exercising kind of my optimism muscle in that regard and getting used to like, going online, I look at my bank account, like, look, dummy, why are you so worried? I don't know. You're making yourself sick with worry over nothing. So I would say from a financial wellness standpoint, if you can create some sort of comfort fund for yourself, that will just, and not everybody's in a position to do it, but even if it's, 5% of every paycheck, 10% of every paycheck, it'll get that ball rolling. And before you know it, it's going to be something that will allow you to feel more comfortable.
Yeah, 100%. Saving a little bit all the time. I mean, I think of you, Jane, so in so many ways you impact my life, my mindset, whatever, but financial was huge for me. Talking to you about money, believing I deserved the money, believing I was worth the money, believing it was okay to ask for more money, recognizing that the audience thought I was worth more money. And that has come out in my bookings today because you reminded me of that. So to me, I think of you as my financial and mindset coach.
Love
And
it.
I love that meditation. I mean, I still listen to that woman, I think her name's Teresa, about are you open to money? Because I think if you grow up in poverty or just grinding always, or never enough, it's easy to live that. And when you own your own business and the coming and going of great months and quiet months, you have to have some peace about your finances,
Yes.
savings. You have to be realistic, but yeah,
Uh-huh.
you were so helpful with that. So I
Oh,
always give you credit for that.
I'm glad I'm getting it back from you right now.
There
Thank
you
you
go.
very,
Listen
very
to that
much.
meditation. I listen to it still at least once a week.
We do have a wealthy speaker meditation that we share with everybody in the school, because if you do it every day for 30 days, it will
Yes.
literally, I think I'm to the point now where when I do it, I don't actually hear it anymore because I've heard it so many times. So
Okay.
I want you to send me your one by Teresa. I'm curious to try a new one.
Well, I don't know if it's the one you gave
Is
me.
it the
Maybe your
Wealthy
name's
Speaker
Catherine.
School one?
Well, I thought it was the one you recommended it to
All right.
me.
We'll
And
we'll exchange notes on that and make sure
okay.
have any.
I listened to it for 90 days every day, and now I listen to it about once a week still. Maybe your name's Catherine or Teresa. I don't know. Anyway.
It might be Catherine. That is
Okay,
who
maybe
did mine for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe there's a lot of new ones. I'll find you a good one.
I
All right.
listen to Jack Canfield sometimes. He's got some
Yeah.
wealth meditation information on YouTube that's really good as well.
Yeah. And also people are in different places. Like for me, it was about believing I was worth it.
Yeah.
Worth it. And that meditation so much is like, and then sometimes I'm like, holy cow, you've done a lot of things. I think you're okay to get paid well. So anyway, so there's a lot of myths about health. So when I think about health, I think about emotional, physical, mental, financial, relational, spiritual, and career health. But there's a lot of different ways we can be healthy or unhealthy, but there's a lot of stories, right? And so if there's one myth, Jane, that you could share with our listeners and just say, hey, this isn't true about health, or I'm sorry, or something confusing or not true that you would love for our listeners to clarify, something that you help your clients work with.
Well, I think from a wealthy speaker standpoint, it's that you see people up there you put them on a pedestal because they're up on a big main stage in front of you, and you think that they have no problems.
Yeah.
The myth is that once you've made it, it's smooth sailing from there. And one of the things that I learned, and we may want to try to fudge these numbers a little bit. One of the things that Brooke Castillo, who's one of my mentors, teaches is that life is 50-50. And you're going to get 50% good and you're going to get 50% bad pain. And so when you're making decisions in your life, and you just kind of have to think about, well, if I go down this path, there's going to be this pain. And if I go down this path, there's just going to be this other pain. Like there's no path that's pain free. You kind of have to pay your dues. And I try to skew it from a 50-50 to maybe like a 60-40.
Yeah.
But I don't know that there's any 90-10 or 95-5 to be had here.
Okay.
You can try for that. I mean, I think it's a great optimistic goal, but I think that the myth is that the people who you put up on pedestals in front of you don't have any problems, and they do.
Yeah.
They do. They're really just dealing with some of the same things. Probably some of the same financial issues, only at a higher level. And some of the same personal issues, only at a different level. And I think the myth is just that once you've arrived that you're going to be happy, I think you have to really just appreciate everything that you have right now. What do I need to be happy today?
Yeah. I think I love what you said there, and it makes me think of two things. One, I do think I understand better now ever in my life, it's lonely at the top and what that means. And how when you're in front of people, they put you on a pedestal and they want to know you, but they don't really know you. They know a very superficial of what they said. Not that it's not authentically me and who I am, but they don't really know you. You're not having dinner with them later. So it's easy to know a lot of people, but not be really connected with as many, and partially moving away. So lonely at the top. The next thing I thought of is Kate Spade is really on my mind a lot this week, as in that purse. My husband bought me the pineapple purse that my daughter recommended, and it's a Kate Spade. And it's so beautiful to be able to use this symbol that I teach on and to honor a life of a woman who so many looked at as beautiful, wealthy, perfect, and
Had
people
it all.
had it all, but nobody's above mental health, and nobody's above feeling isolated or lonely and depressed, and then knowing who is it safe to talk to about that. And that's partially why I do this show, is I want people to know you're not alone, whether you're sitting in your office or your bedroom or your office at home, that, and you're feeling down, please reach out, please talk to someone. That even people that appear, and people often say to me, how do you always have it together, Annie? How did you become the exception? I'm like, I want to be really clear. I don't have it all together. I'm a work in progress, always and forever.
Yeah.
And the way that I be the exception or be the pineapple person is exactly going back to what Jane said in the beginning. I get up every morning, I drink water, I go for a walk on the beach or around the hotel room by myself, or the hotel lobby or the neighborhood, wherever I am, because I have to take care of me first so I can do the good work that I get to do, right? And so thank you for reminding people. Yeah, it's not like just because we're visual, doesn't mean we have it all together, or we think we're better than, or we think we have it all together. We're always working on it. You never arrive.
And for speakers who might be listening, that vulnerability of not being perfect is great for the stage.
Yeah.
You're not up there to do a therapy session, but for you to say authentically that, hey, I don't have it all together. Please don't put me on a pedestal. I think that is okay to do.
Yeah. I do that a lot because I do hear, and I'm like, just so you know, everything I teach on, I'm still learning. And being authentic for me means me with the good, bad, and the messy, right?
Yes, we're all flawed human beings. When I first got into the speaking industry, I put so many people up on pedestals. And I was very quickly disappointed that they did not live up to my expectations. And I realized very quickly on, wait a second, they put their pants on one leg at a time. They're just like everybody else.
That's right. That's right. All right. And so you've shared a lot of great tips about you personally, about your work, your important work that you do in the world, and you help so many people. And speaking is overwhelming. I mean, it really is an overwhelming business for new speakers out there, for people starting. I know there's a lot of people that are just so excited about this. So having a plan like yours is so helpful, and having a coach that can help guide you through all this. So you've shared a lot of great stuff. So I'm glad we have our listeners. But what if people want to get a hold of you, Jane? What's the best and easiest way to connect with you?
Probably my main website, which is the umbrella for the coaching and the school, is called speakerlauncher.com. That is the best way to reach me. And I would love to hear from you and hear where you're at in your life and business.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, thanks so much for being with us, Jane. I appreciate you sharing your ideas on hope, health, and happiness in all different areas of life, so we can all take care of ourselves and keep moving forward. So
I love watching you, Annie. Thank you.
Thank you.